Yes. Here
Oh,
we are.
oh, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
look at
Somebody
Susan
else.
Cooper, 100 episodes.
Marika.
So cute.
Look,
All
Marika's
right,
got
hold
a
on.
crown on
I have
too.
to hold
It's
on. I'm gonna have
midsummer.
to do that again, Susan.
Yay!
Let me take a picture of that. Hold on.
That's so cool.
Hold on. So many things are happening at once here. Oh my God.
Somebody decided to have a party.
Somebody's having a party. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for making that. That's cute.
Great.
Well, we you know, I see a couple more party hats there. Mari, I can never say your name right, but look, it's like summer solstice.
Amy, you're echoing a little.
I am?
Or maybe it's me.
Oh, you know what? It's because if somebody is not muted.
Okay.
And we can hear. All right, we can hear. Yes.
There.
Yep. I have a bumblebee that's been stuck to my door, and I think he wants my hat that I just picked from my front yard.
Oh, that's nice.
Also, my eyes are starting to water, I think from allergies.
That's okay.
But happy 100 episodes.
Okay, so
yeah,
are we at a place where you can count me in?
I just like counting you in. It seems like I know. Oh, do you want to start? You want to kick it off?
So
okay,
I'll let him in.
You let him in. I've got a lot of jobs
Could
today,
everyone make
guys.
sure that they're muted?
Yeah, it's just Marta, you and I that are unmuted. Okay. And now we have this. And now, oh no, I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. You guys ready to rock out?
Well, it's the end of the week. Now where you been? Well, now it's Feedback Friday, so come on in. Come sit down and stare at your screen. We got a presenter that you never seen. We're Feedback Friday, we're on the loose. We'll be the train, you be the caboose. It's Feedback Friday with Kathy and Amy. Mashed potatoes and the gravy. It's Feedback Friday all day long. Feedback, feedback, Feedback Friday.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to episode 100 of Feedback Friday.
Woo!
Oh my goodness. Took us 100 times, but we're finally here. Welcome everybody. It is amazing that we've actually been able to bring to you over the course of the last few decades, it feels like, but since about March 2020, we've been doing Feedback Friday. And who would have thought that a blog post that went live to help people gather together during a pandemic could have brought us so much joy, community, sharing, dialogue, all sorts of conversations that we never would have had. Of course, a huge thank you to all of you. We couldn't have done this without you participating. And of course, it's been keeping us going as well as building an amazing group of people to come together to talk about the things that we love, which are color and natural dyes. And I just want to thank all the presenters who have been here to share with us their work, their view, their vision of all sorts of things that we would never have been even able to experience. Even though Zoom has been much maligned, it really has been a great tool for us to stay together and continue to grow and be creative. So you all know, I'm Kathy Hattori, president of Botanical Colors, and joining me with a bumblebee on her head is Amy Dufo. And today we have an amazing artist joining us from Rome, Marta Abbott. So Marta uses organic and botanical materials to extract and convey that which she finds essential to the human experience of nature and beauty. Marta does this through combining concept with intuition, elements of control with those of contained chaos, and with eyes scanning both earth and sky, seeking ways to interpret that which links the two. So we're going to hear about celestial bodies, beauty, a year of materials, color, light, seaweed, all sorts of amazing things that Marta has dabbled in. She's got a beautiful ink process that she's been doing experiments with, which is really lovely. And we're also super excited that we're going to be able to meet Marta in person on Tuesday of next week at the Sasha Durr Cape Cod workshop that's being held at Coonamask Farm. So this is just, she's flying, I'm flying, we're all flying to meet together, and it's going to be great. Just for a little housekeeping, Amy's got everybody on mute, and the chat will be opened up at the end of Marta's presentation. And at that point, you'll be able to ask her questions. And then after that, and at the conclusion of her presentation, we'll just have a few announcements, and then we'll all be able to unmute and have a little bit of a celebration for our 100th episode. So let's see. Oh, the call is being recorded, and we'll have a video copy of this ready for you, so you can view it again and just celebrate one more time. Yeah,
like a bug just crawled down my face.
Yeah, there you go. If it's a bug and a spider. All right, so
Kathy,
okay.
If you guys see bugs crawling out of flowers on my face, you just let me know.
Okay, just
Okay,
be glad
great.
you're not in a debate or anything. All right, so Amy's going to be running the PowerPoint. Marta is joining us from Rome, and she'll be discussing and narrating as we go along. So with no further ado, please welcome Marta Abbott, our artist and presenter, and we're so excited to have you, Marta. Welcome to Feedback Friday.
Hi, hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me on today. I don't think I've told you guys this, but one of the first things I actually did when our first lockdown happened here was to order a dye kit from you guys. So it's very, very special to get to be here today, of all days especially. But yeah, so thank you.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Marta. Okay, would you ready for me to? Do you want me to start? Okay.
Yeah. Let's start this slideshow.
Yeah. All right. Just a moment.
So this is just a quick video a friend, Katrina Tan, and I made last year to sort of show the essence of what I think is really beautiful about natural inks and the way that we interact with the color and the material, just to get you guys sort of inside the world that I have here in the studio. So we put that together because I wanted to show the way that all four elements are really important to what we do, to extracting color from natural materials. And then the final element is us, that sort of is the catalyst for turning it into what it is and what we use it for. And this slide, so the picture on the left is a photograph of me in the Czech countryside when I was pretty young at my grandmother's cottage. And I added these two photos. The other one is a photo of Block Island, which is this place I've spent a lot of time on, because I think place is such an important element in what we all do and what makes the materials that we use unique and important and fascinating. So I used to go out blueberry picking in the forest near this cottage, and that's something that's always stayed with me. And Block Island is a place where you live the elements and nature and the seasons so much every single day. I think those are both things that have really just always carried with me, and that I'm sure, you know, a lot of you have similar experiences that you carry with you and your work. So yeah, just two places that are really special and that inspire me a lot. And the next two slides are images of my studio. Just wanted to show you guys where I'm talking to you from and where I make my work. I have a studio in Rome. I've lived here for 10 years. I used to work from home, but I have a 4-year-old son, so that got trickier. So now I work here. Those are all my inks and a collection of materials that I've picked up just on my travels or even just walks around Rome. There's a lot of really good rust lying around here that I really like to make ink from. Pomegranate a friend gave me a year ago, I've let dry. So just sort of a collection of things that inspire. And then I wanted to show you guys a bit of my work, the things that I've made in the last few years. This is the image that I think Amy chose for the website. I made this earlier this year after a big event here at my studio. There's several of us that have studios here. That was sort of in celebration of flowers. And I asked them if I could have any leftover flowers. So I sort of pressed them into paper and I traced some of them and filled in the details, and others I just left the color to speak for itself. And I think I was thinking a lot about gatherings and how sort of fleeting that experience is. The same way, you know, the life of a flower sort of blooms and then it fades away, and over time its form changes and our memory of the things that we experience change. So just sort of another way to connect us to the natural world. And the next slide. So these two pieces I made using seaweed on Block Island. The image on the right, sort of the pink one, I made with sumac ink, and they're both made with inks from the Toronto Ink Company. The one on the right is in Jason's book, Make Ink. And it was one of the first series I made using natural colors. I just really wanted to find a way to let materials, colors that are alive, to record materials that are also alive. And seaweed is such a fascinating material from this world that we don't actually know that much about. So I just wanted to sort of explore the form, the life of these plants. And this is from a series called Vessels for Light. They're made with charcoal ink, acorn cap ink. I think there's some eucalyptus bark in there as well as gold and silver leaf. And I was just thinking about, I think about light a lot, because you know, they say we're all made from stardust, and that's something that I think about quite often. And you know, to an extension of that, everything on Earth in a way comes from that same stardust. So I feel like the plants that I use, the materials that I use, in some way or other, it's sort of like extracting light that came down from space, because those plants couldn't grow without the light of the sun. I think some plants even absorb a little bit of starlight when they grow. So I like the idea that all of us have a bit of that light in us, and that everything that grows around us has that light in it as well. And the next slide is also in reference to the night sky. It's from a series called Stargazers. There's one non-denominational cemetery in Rome that was started, I think, in the 1700s, and they have a gallery. So when I found out that they had a gallery space, I got in touch with them right away. I thought it was a really beautiful thing. And they actually allowed me to forage on the cemetery grounds. It's this really beautiful, romantic, flower-filled little plot of land. Keats and Shelley are buried there, as well as a huge list of other incredible thinkers that all had some relationship with Rome. So I got to spend a year going there, foraging different things throughout different seasons. And I made this series with inks that I had made from materials that grow at this cemetery. The parts in black and white are photographs of some of the headstones that have lichens on them. And they reminded me of the stars in the night sky, which is part of why I called it Stargazers. because I sort of thought of everyone that's interred there at the cemetery as sort of eternally stargazing. And so another connection between heaven and earth, and between us and the natural world. The next slide. So the second part of what I wanted to show you was a trip to a marble quarry in Carrara last year, just sort of another section, because it's really tied to the world of natural inks. I think whoever was here to see Jason Logan's Feedback Friday, he mentioned the documentary that they're making about him, and he sort of asked me he was supposed to come here to Italy. We were going to try to film something here, and because of COVID, that became impossible. And he asked me one day if I could go to Carrara and collect some marble dust. And without really thinking it through, I said yes, because I thought there has to be a way. And by sheer luck, I found a way. I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who owned a quarry, and they agreed to let us film there. So part of telling the story of natural materials turned more from botanical materials to stone. And so we managed to get up there last year. So I wanted to show you guys the quarry. Oh, the image on the right is a little video to just give a view, because it's such an incredible place to see. I just wanted to share it with all of you who's been to Carrara with me. You can see the sea in the distance as well. It's sort of like landing on the moon. I think the next slide has a few more images of this quarry. On the video on the right, I added so you guys could see the texture of the marble dust. It's really grainy and it's very damp. It feels like it's trying to reconstitute itself all the time. It sort of clumps together material. And let's see the next slide. So that's a close-up shot of the ground at the quarry. These sort of clumps of marble dust form because of the way the wind blows. And so again, it just felt like something extraplanetary that I'd never seen before. And the idea with this trip, this is the entrance to the marble cave, and on the right you can see a photo that looks over at another quarry. Feels like something out of Lord of the Rings to me. And so the idea behind this trip was for me to go gather marble dust from this quarry and see if I could make an ink out of it. And what I ended up doing, we can go to the next slide, was bringing it to this place in Florence. It's a historical printmaking studio. And I wanted to make an oil-based ink instead of a water-based ink because I wanted to make prints with the marble dust. So a master printmaker there helped me concoct a formula that worked as a printmaking ink from this marble dust. The next slide shows that, so the video on the left, because of all the calcium, you know, the sort of, there's a bit of sparkle. I don't know if it's coming through. The light wasn't so great in there for taking videos, but as you know, all this marble is just bone and shell that's been digested by the earth, and it comes out. Comes out in this sort of beautiful sparkling white material. And on the right is, I just wanted to show you guys the tool that we sort of rigged to create the marble dust ink. The printmaker who helped me attached a cork to a drill, and he glued a set of blades onto that. And we just sort of kept mixing the marble dust until it was fine enough to combine with everything else. So it was really an investigation. It was really just this sort of ongoing experiment. And I think the end result, you know, that it was a perfect ink wasn't as important as to just to investigate, to see what would happen, which is what I love so much about working with these materials, that they sort of, you can only control them up to a point. And and then you have to kind of, you know, accept what what they're going to do or what they won't. And the next slide, I think, is a bit more of process. So I ended up making a series that combined the marble dust ink with flowers. And the flowers came in large part from this camellia bush. I just picked them outside. They were on the ground. I collected them outside this printmaking studio because I saw them there, and it struck me that one thing that I find really interesting about working with these materials is that they often have unexpected properties and characteristics. And I thought about marble and how it's actually, you know, we think of it as very hard and heavy and durable, but it's actually a really soft and porous material. And flowers, on the other hand, are often, I think, perceived as fragile and fleeting, but they're actually, you know, they withstand storms and drought, and they fade away and they grow back again and again and again. So I was just thinking about sort of different ideas of strength, and the way that strength doesn't necessarily need to be loud and in your face, but it can also be quiet and gentle. And some things that actually appear to be really strong and sturdy are not always that way. So I sort of found a way to combine those two materials and sort of create a dialogue between them. And the next few slides are pieces that I made at this printmaking studio. The series was called Pietra Viva, Living Rock. I sort of tried to animate the marble using the flowers. So there's some details. I hope they're coming through okay. These are flowers on a tissue paper, the remnants of flowers on tissue paper. And these are some of the camellias as well, with more marble dust and an image of the ground of the marble quarry. And the next one is sort of more experiments with the marble ink dust and dried flowers, and I sort of found a way to embed into the dust, and some flowers pressed into paper again. And this is the final image. It's just it sort of sums up a lot of what I've been saying already, that, you know, I think we think of ourselves so often as being separate from nature, and I guess one thing I try to do in my work is to gently point out to people that we are nature, that we're a result of nature, and that we're sort of always in contact with it, whether we realize it or not, and that everything around us is a result of it. So my hope is always to just get people to sort of stop and look a little bit more closely, or appreciate or examine something that they might usually pass by. This is a petri dish of ink with Queen Anne's lace petals in it, and yeah, I just sort of wanted to suggest the way that we animate these materials in ways that wouldn't otherwise happen. But so we're in a way separate from it, but also very, very much intertwined. So yeah, that's that's it.
Is that okay? That's the thanks. Thank you. I feel bad, like I want you to be doing running this, but so I don't have to make it all weird. But thanks, Marta. And
Marta, that was just so beautiful. Can you tell me, just to kind of, what was that last piece of material that your hand was behind in the last slide?
So it was a petri dish with indigo and cochineal inks and a little bit of Queen Anne's lace flower. And what we did was we filmed it from below. So it looks a little bit murky and hard to identify, but yeah, it was indigo and cochineal.
Oh, so beautiful.
Thank
so
you.
beautiful.
I just
All right. Yeah, Amy, can you see the chat now?
I can see the chat now. Yeah, I just couldn't see it when I was sharing her presentation. Right. Yep. Okay, we'll just jump in, Marta. Let's see. So are these paintings on paper? Asked Sheila Stanley.
Yes, the majority of them are on paper. I've just started playing around with ink on canvas. But yeah, I like to work on paper.
Do you mordant your fabrics or paper? And if not, how do you keep it color fast?
So fabrics, I'm still learning about fabrics. I think I do, when I use them, I do mordant them. But it's been a little while since I've really delved into working with fabrics. The paper, what I do is I add gum arabic, and that seems to sort of fasten it well to the page. Otherwise, I've sort of tested out different inks. Some are more light fast than others. Sometimes you can make a natural sort of fixative using water and casein. And other than that, I just try to keep them out of direct sunlight to keep them from fading. But so far, I've been doing this, more regularly since about 2017. And I will say that so far the colors have held longer than I thought. And it also depends on the paper and the acidity of the paper.
Mm-hmm. I had written down a question about the tissue paper that you mentioned, like this tissue paper versus like a watercolor paper. Is it dramatically different, like how it's holding the color?
Yeah, it's actually, there are a few pieces I made on tissue paper, just, as an experiment, but they turned out really beautifully. And what I've noticed is over time, the color spreads through the paper much more than it does on a regular, heavier weight paper. And I actually really love that. It's maybe not welcomed in more sort of traditional, art market. Not everybody is always a fan, but I find that what's really beautiful about these materials is that they do evolve and change over time. And the way the ink interacts with the tissue is, it just seems to sort of keep crawling further and further out across the page. So
kind of the beauty of natural dyes in any form on clothing or fibers on or on paper. It's just how it evolves is so cool to watch.
Yeah, it's like the materials itself.
Yeah, materials are everything. What size are your pieces?
Oh, they range from just sort of a standard A4 up to, God, I have it, it's in centimeters. I've gotten used to the metric system. But I would say to quite a bit bigger, sort of poster size or even more. I have to measure with a ruler with inches to double check, but they range quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I don't think Kathy and I forewarned you that almost every single Feedback Friday, if you watch it, somebody will say, "Can you tell me about the work behind you?" So Ellen Noble, thanks for not letting us down. Can you tell us about the work behind you on the wall? What are the pigments and the colors from?
So this work I wanted to mention is part of that same series, Stargazers. The black and white part in the middle is also a photographic print that I collaged on, and the colors around it are copper oxide. There is an acorn cap ink. There's one ink that I made with marigolds and onion skins. And there's a little bit of indigo as well. Mm. Sorry for the glare. There's a window in my studio that's sort of shining right across.
Oh, I'm just glad your Wi-Fi worked in your studio. I just realized that we had some challenges with it on Tuesday. Let's see. Oh, my mother's asking, how do you apply your colors?
Oh, so there are various ways. I like to wet the paper first because that lets the ink sort of do its thing. I like when you can see the concept that I wanted to express on the page, but I don't like when you can see human hand too much in the manipulation of the material, even though that's what's happened. So I try to wet the page first because then the ink sort of moves more freely. Sometimes I use a dropper. I have all kinds of brushes. I have one from Pigment House in Tokyo that's probably my favorite brush to use. I have I bought a bunch of wooden utensils to have here at the studio, and sometimes there's a wooden fork I like to use that spreads the color really nicely and creates these really subtle, really nice little lines on the page. Sometimes I will sort of like blow the ink across the paper or move it with a glass. So it really is a lot of improvisation depending on what I want it to do.
Okay, let's see, Tina, what was the natural fixative?
Oh, so it's casein and water. I've had to fiddle around a little bit with the formula. It's not 100% reliable. Sometimes it works better, sometimes not. I'm not always sure exactly why. So it's a little bit finicky, but it's I think it's the same formula that Cennino or Cennini used back in the Renaissance. So it's a very old formula. It's hard to find a natural fixative that is reliably colorless and that stays. So that's been a trickier part of my practice. But that's it. Casein and water, equal parts, I think.
Thanks, Teddy, for adding a little. You can also use soy milk as a fixative, either before or after applying ink or dye.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, if you guys keep getting, I mean, I've got my own questions written down here, but just in case, but Leslie's asking that you use such interesting materials. How did you come up with your ideas? I was kind of thinking about that too. Like I'm on a walk with you or just taking a walk and you see something, like talk about maybe the process of like the collecting of it and the storing of it, and then what you do with it until you use it as a part of your artwork.
it's true. It's not something I guess it sort of feels so intuitive in a way that I haven't thought. I mean, a lot of inspiration definitely comes from the way I came to the world of natural inks. So my mom is a painter. She also has a very green thumb. She really loves the natural world as well. So I learned a lot from her, and I always experimented with like teas and flowers. But what really made this a more consistent part of my practice was Toronto Ink Company. When I found them, I understood the possibilities that are pretty endless. So that inspired me to just take a much closer look at everything around me, and just see what I could extract color from. I really love black as a color, so I've been trying to like take bonfire soot from a friend's garden bonfire. I guess I'm just sort of always scanning the scene to see what what could be interesting to experiment with. There's a nursery I go to where they, every so often they clear everything out and they deadhead and they get rid of flowers. And so I'll sort of take flowers from the pile of things that they were going to compost anyways. So yeah, I guess it just depends where I am, but it's just sort of like a permanent, always looking around to see what I can grab. And then I guess, history and the subject that I'm working with, I try to sort of link material to subject when I can.
That's interesting. Just that right there, just thinking about like how you can use art as this way of talking about, history or climate change, different huge things that are happening in the world, and how dye inks or how the plants can actually tell more of a story than sometimes we can, without repelling people from wanting to hear the story.
Exactly. Half the time I feel like I'm just sort of trying to be a conduit for the material I'm working with, because I feel like there's just so much to tell there that is hard to it's hard for us to hear sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know, I mean, I was just trying to grab the link for Jason's book that's on our site. I'm going to put it in chat in a minute, as well as your website link. Somebody just asked for it, but yeah, when I read Make Ink, and when it came into the Botanical Colors bookstore and Kathy sent it, I was like, book kind of changed my life and how I looked at what was around me as well. Because so often we think about putting it on textile, like textiles, or like we're dyeing some yarn, but what is it like when you're creating your own dyes and inks and then putting it on different types of paper? And somebody did ask what kind of paper. So, and I know it's different how the inks take to paper depending on the paper. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit too, like about how different types of paper? I know we were saying like tissue paper versus watercolor, but how different types of paper take the inks.
So I usually use as heavy weight a paper as I can find. That's sort of my, I like arches a lot, but because I use a ton of water when I work, like much more than I think one really should when working on paper. So I just try to find whatever can sort of hold hold on to that water without totally buckling or shriveling or morphing too much. That's kind of how I choose my paper. Otherwise, I find that Japanese paper is really it really shows the characteristics and qualities of the ink in a way that other papers do not. But I've worked on a transparent paper that looks sort of like Mylar, but is made from 100% cotton. And I'm starting to work on canvas too, that's gessoed. And so yeah, I just sort of choose, I guess I choose the paper according to like how much I'm gonna beat it up with my process, because I sort of press the flowers into the paper as well. So I just need it to be sturdy.
Okay, put Marta's website here for you. Oh, just some nice comments here. Okay, and somebody says, what kind of paper? Let's see, does anybody else have some questions from Marta? We still have time, and maybe Kathy, do you have any questions at all?
I could have a ton of questions.
I know we will be sitting around a campfire together soon.
So Marta, talk about Block Island a little bit.
Oh, so an uncle of mine has been going there since the 70s. And so I was very lucky to be introduced to it at a young age. I spent my first birthday there, and we went almost every summer. And it was always, I don't know why, but even from a very young age, I always just felt more at home there than I did in my own hometown for some reason. And I always really loved the way that the whole island, all the hues, the landscape shifted so much with each season, and you could always see the stars so brightly there. I woke up one morning there, I always left the windows open just to let air pass through, and there was fog rolling through my room. So just, there was always this sort of magic there. And I went there the summer after I sort of discovered natural inks and started working with them a lot more. And that's when I made this series of seaweed. So it became even more sort of personal to my practice. I think it's the beauty of the nature there is so constantly present that you're just sort of struck by it everywhere you go. And it's sort of like this constant show because the weather shifts so often. So the sky is always changing. And I guess, yeah, it made a pretty big impression on me.
So when you're in Italy, when you're in Rome, which is, huge metropolis, where are you looking up or are you looking down when you're stargazing?
Oh.
That's a good
kind
one.
of looking everywhere. I live right next to one of the biggest parks in Rome. And so I guess I'm looking down a lot because I go there to forage very much. They have, for better or worse, they don't really sort of manicure the park very much. So everything's always beautifully overgrown, and there's a lot to choose from. So I kind of go get lost in there. So I guess looking down more. But it's true that there are like caper plants sprouting from ancient Roman walls. Everywhere you go, there's something really beautiful happening that you could extract color from.
It's so amazing. That's fantastic.
There's a couple questions here that have come in. So Polly's asking, is the Japanese brush she has in quotes, mop head brush that you use?
Let me see. I'll see if I have it. It may be
Does
at
it
home.
look like one of the Beatles? Like back in the day?
No, it's a flat.
Mop head.
I think maybe it is at home. But yeah, no, it's a flat-headed brush.
Okay, let's see. I'm not quite sure about this one. So that Leslie's asking, and she said that was marble dust, right? And how does it react with the paper?
So the marble dust was really fascinating because it took to the paper pretty well after a lot of trial and error. But in some cases, it would often take about a month for it to dry. So in the beginning, I thought that it wasn't going to work because it would just sort of crumble off the page. But then I found that if I left the paper, just didn't touch it for a month, sometimes even a little more, it would really harden onto the page and attach to the paper very well. Yeah, it's a weird one. And I think, the studio in Florence is in a really old building. It's really damp. So I think that probably made a pretty big difference in the way it dried. But yeah, it looked like it was never going to work. And then it would just sort of magically attach to the paper.
So cool. Let's see. Is it caper plants? Ooh, what do you get from caper plants?
Tried them. I think I tried them a few years ago without too much success, but I was just sort of at the beginning of my ink making practice. So it's something I do want to try again, because there's some sort of purples in there that look like they could be pretty promising. But yeah, I have to see. I have to test them out again.
All right, thanks to Nina for this question, because Kathy, do you remember I asked this question once? Who the heck did I ask this question to? And we got like the most bizarre answer in our 100 episodes.
You asked Jason Logan.
Was it Jason?
Yes, and
what was
he
the
started
craziest
talking.
Thing that
it was the one that was from the weapon.
It was something really crazy, but okay. So here, Nina wants to know, and so do I. But I'm going to blame it on Nina if you have a really weird answer. What's the craziest, most unexpected color you've ever extracted from something?
I don't know. Two things come to mind. I don't know if they're totally crazy in terms of the result, but one of the first inks I made was from avocado pits, and I was really struck by the process, because when you add the oh gosh, I'm forgetting the word, sorry, not the baking soda, but the soda ash. It goes from, you put the pit in and it turns this sort of warm orangey color, and you put the soda ash in and it sort of it's like something out of a movie. There's like a puff of steam and it bubbles up and turns dark green, and then after a few minutes it goes back to this sort of warm orange, and I thought that was just pretty incredible to watch the transformation of the reactions of those materials together. The other, I think maybe the weirdest, I can say the weirdest, least common material that I've used to make pigment for ink from is actual bone. So one of the ideas that we were going to try out for Jason's documentary was to make a true bone black, because I'm in Rome and that was a color that was used quite a bit in ancient Rome, and we wanted to try to recreate it. So I contacted a butcher here who I've known for a while and who has is extremely ethical in the ways that he, the animals that he uses, and every single part of the animal is used for something. He only works with people that treat the animals very humanely. So I spoke with him about it, and he actually gave me a cow bone, and his wife is a ceramicist, so she had a kiln, and we brought everything to her studio, and we fired the kiln, and we managed to sort of get this bone black after many hours, and a lot of sort of tricky situations with the kiln and with a lot of fire and with a lot of smoke. So I would say that's the most sort of far out I've ever gone in terms of material.
It feels like this crazy kind of alchemy meets I think it was Nina was saying it was very goth. Yeah, there's a artist here who's got it, like the high school ceramics teacher, and she's got a kiln, and a lot of his artwork, as he says, he cremates things in the kiln, and then he uses that to reconstruct the whatever it is. So like I'm looking at one of his paintings right now, and it's like a cod that he cremated the cod bones and then recreated the cod and in mixed colors and stuff. But he takes that powder and then recreates whatever it was that he cremated.
Really beautiful.
Let's see. Tina's saying, for your bruise, do you take specific safety precautions, or is there equipment that you use?
Oh, it really depends on the material. If I'm gonna make like a copper oxide ink, which makes this beautiful electric blue, you have to leave a piece of copper in an open glass container with vinegar and salt for a while. And it is good to leave that in a more aerated space. And I never do that at home because of my son. If I touch it, you know, I try to have gloves on. But otherwise, nothing I use is the soda ash as well. You know, I do it only if I'm home alone. But nothing I use so far has been too toxic. I just try to keep an eye on you know, things boiling and bubbling up. I should probably be more cautious, but I always sort of get caught up in the moment and then just keep going about the thing and cooking the ink. So yeah, I just try to always double check that the material I'm using isn't hazardous in any kind of way.
Well, okay. And in the newsletter yesterday, thanks for your recipe, because it's actually really easy to make a dye ink. Like you can you can push it as far as you want. Like a lot of people, you can take art as you learn, as you grow, you can push it and make it as sophisticated as you want. But Marta had a really simple recipe, which was, and you could use any flowers, but was like 3/4 of a pan, 3/4 of the way, something like that, or just to cover the whatever flowers that you're using.
Yeah.
What else was it? Vinegar?
Yeah, a tablespoon of white vinegar. You can also use apple cider vinegar, but it will change the way that the color comes out, of course. But if you want to experiment, that's one way to do it.
There was a
So
pinch
white
of something
vinegar.
else too. So there was a pinch of something else in there. Salt.
A little bit of
yeah.
Yeah.
And then just simmer for, you said, for like 2 hours or something?
Yeah. I mean, marigolds for an hour or two, probably closer to 2 sometimes. Most flowers, I would say though, don't need a lot of heat, and sometimes they're better left to just sit in water overnight, and they sort of slowly will release their color on their own. And the heat will kind of is a little bit too aggressive because the pigments are so delicate. But yeah, for the marigolds, you just simmer them until you get as much color as you want, and it's, you know, this incredible glowing color.
Yep.
But yeah, it's very simple. And then, you know, toss in something else and see what happens.
Oh, see, all of a sudden we open up Pandora's box. Not Pandora's box, but just a couple more questions. They just come. So, like, how many flowers would you say? Tyling's asking, how many marigolds do you use?
I guess it depends. It depends so much on what, you know, how much you're trying to make. I usually, if I'm just making a small batch, I don't know what the weight or the measurement is. I do it so much like by eye, sorry. But yeah, if I'm using, like Amy said, if I'm using a smaller pot, I'll usually just cover the flowers I have with water and keep an eye that it doesn't get too low. If I'm using a bigger pot and a bigger quantity, I'll add a little bit more water so that it can has more time to cook down. But yeah, sort of do it from memory.
Gina, which is a great idea. We're actually going to be focusing on solar dyeing a lot for next month. But Gina's saying I put the flowers in water in a mason jar and put in the sun, or on the pilot light on my 60s stove. Yeah, there's definitely different ways of extracting color. And the other thing I was thinking of, Marta, was, you know, like how many flowers do you put in? Like how dark do you want the color too? You put a lot of marigolds in a pot, it's going to be a lot lighter if you put a lot in versus a smaller amount that could be diluted a bit. those kind of playing with the
Exactly.
oranges, playing with the yellows. And, you know, what do you, I think I saw in your studio, you had little glass jars. Do you have like little kind of a mixture? Is that what, you have a mixture of jars that you store your inks in?
Yeah, I have a lot of some inks that, you know, friends have sent me, and some inks that I've made that they're colors that I use frequently, so I like to keep them around. But yeah, I either use ink bottles with droppers or mason jars. And I always try to boil the jars first, just so that there's no bacteria, and the inks will keep for as long as possible.
And do you put, you know, I've read and I've been doing it, and I don't know if it's right that I'm doing it, but I put a drop of peppermint oil in it, or I've heard maybe Jason has said it too with cloves.
Yeah, I
like a
always use
whole clove.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I don't know why, I always go with that instead of the oil, but it's always worked well for me.
Okay.
And yeah, so a few drops of the gum arabic after you've cooked the marigolds or whatever you're using, and filtered them. That's when I use, depending on the volume, you know, a few drops of gum arabic, so that everything will bind together and bind to the paper, and you've got your ink.
All right. And somebody did ask a question about gum arabic. You're wetting out, I mean, I know you can get gum arabic like in a powder form, but in a liquid form, but what do you use more, the liquid or the?
I usually use the liquid more. That's just been because it's one sort of little way I can save a bit of time.
Yeah.
Honestly, so I usually use the liquid.
Yeah.
But yeah, the powder form is fine as well. Flakes, and you can use, you know, you can collect tree sap and boil that down and use that as a binder as well. You know, like stone fruit trees, sap from those can often work.
Oh yeah, I read about that. I boiled down some seaweed recently. I think we were talking about this, and I was thinking I was going to get some kind of a color because it was purple, but it ended up going from purple to gray, and it turned into glue in the pan. It was like this thick kind of glue.
Great binder.
A binder, yeah. I was like, the way that it looked, but
not so nice.
I should have done something with it.
I'm so curious when I see you to ask you more about the seaweed, because it's something I really want to explore more. But there's not that much seaweed around the coast here, close to Rome. So
I made agar, Helen. Oh my god.
Yeah, agar. That's what I was gonna say.
Wow.
Maybe that's what you made.
Well, we can get flashlights and put on bathing suits, flashlights, and go harvest some seaweed on Tuesday night. Look, as crazy people. Or just people having fun. What are you doing? I'm trying to make agar, like Helen Kennedy. All right, well, thank you so much for your presentation, and I'm glad we got the PowerPoint to work. And yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Kathy Hattori, my partner in crime. And also, Kathy, I just want to say thank you for 100 episodes, for being together.
Amy.
Crazy
Thank you.
journey. No, thank you.
No.
Thank you so much to everybody.
Marta, yeah, thank you, Marta. It was inspiring, amazing. I love the thought that you had about looking at the stars when you're in a cemetery.
Yeah.
It was like, that's such a great image for me to think about. I loved it.
People, you know, looking down on us. And I thought, well, they're actually, you know,
but we're gazing. Yeah, they're looking up.
And I thought, oh, that's just
so nice.
That way.
Super beautiful. All right, I just have a couple of announcements and reminders, and then I'll also announce our next guest. So I believe that Abu Bakr is already en route to the United States. So he's going to be on the East Coast for a bit, and then he's headed out here for a gallery opening. And then he'll return to start his workshops. But we have a couple of spots left in the kimono workshop, and he did ship the hand-designed, hand-woven dalifini, which is the patterned Malian fabric. And so I got a tracking number. So it should be here on Wednesday, and that'll be available to the people who are in the kimono workshop. So if you thought about it, it's time. We also have a number of different yellow shades on sale to celebrate summer and solstice. And so take advantage of those. And of course, on Wednesday night next week, if you're near Cape Cod, come join us for a no-host farm dinner and a natural dye pop-up shop that includes local artists. All sorts of lovely goods will be there. And the event is on our workshops page, so you can learn more. And then, so next for Feedback Friday, we'll be back on July 8th with Brazilian dyer Jimena Curiel, who has been mapping Brazilian plants and fungi and making an amazing and extraordinary color map. So be on the lookout for the RSVP and stay tuned as we continue to evolve. And we're listening to all of you as a guide for programming. So let us know what you'd like to see more of. We are definitely listening. So thank you, everyone. Go ahead and unmute. And let's just say hi and
Thank
hi
you so
and
much for
hi.
100. Thanks.
100, yes.
Hi.
We're at the century
Wonderful.
mark, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.
Thank
It
you.
was wonderful.
Thank you so
It was
much.
wonderful.
Congratulations.
It was wonderful.
Keep
you.
up the good work.
It was great.
Thank you,
Good to
as
see all
always.
of you. Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
and for
You
seeing
next
all the
week.
empty faces.
And to the next
Safe travel,
100.
Kathy.
To the next one. Ooh.
Next 100, that's right.
Happy
That's
100th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys.
you,
Oh, Kim
Norma,
Kathy.
what are
Branch.
you making?
Kim Branch, we'll be seeing you. Where are you, Kim? Oh, there's Kim. Oh, I see you.
Oh,
Kim
Norma,
Branch
is
will
that
be
your
one of
stitching?
the vendors on
Oh, look at that.
oh, wait a minute. Who's okay?
Oh,
That's
Oh, let
Norma's
me-
work.
Is that Norma? Hold on.
beautiful.
Ah, very
Ooh.
nice.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
Is
nice,
that from
Norma.
the
Love it.
meaning? That
I get
was
my
that-
materials from Botanical Colors,
Woo!
and I was and this is inspired by one of your presenters, Claire Wellesley Smith
Yeah.
from the UK, and so I dyed all of the thread, and everything comes from Botanical Colors.
Beautiful.
Great.
Beautiful.
Thanks,
So
Norma.
nice.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so meditative. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I wish we had like more pizzazz here. I mean,
Well, we're all like
we had
so
like things like
we're glowing from
horns
this
and
presentation.
but yeah. All
Do
right.
we? I guess because we didn't have the dance collective here today. Is that correct?
I don't know.
I can dance.
Suzanne keeps not being able to figure out, but I like that Julia, Rose, and Diane are here, and I swear to God, Mary, say it again.
Marijke.
Maraika.
Marika. I'm not sure if Leslie Leonard's here. Betsy McIsaac's here. We've got
Oh,
some people who are like it's the feedback.
We have some
Friday
loud.
club.
We have some loud people here. we
We
can be loud.
do.
We've got some feedback Friday diehards
Yep.
here.
Excellent.
Michelle O'Reilly, I can't even look at you because I'm going to get car sick. Not looking.
Sorry.
Get my Altoids. Yeah, I'm if anybody's around on when Betsy, you're not that far. So
No, I'm not. It's too far to drive and then drive back home again, though, I think.
well,
That's the problem.
we do have things called, as my mom and I like to say, bed in a bag.
No, the earphones.
We can do some air mattress action or something, but yeah, it's gonna be great on Wednesday night for the pop-up and the farm dinner. And there's Melissa Moses from Plant Workshop, who has been a Feedback Friday presenter, is one of our vendors. Sasha's there signing books and color wheels. Kim's there. Kim Branch who's here with us right now.
Hmm.
Kim will be there selling all kinds of different beautiful. I don't
What are
wanna
you
say
selling, Kim?
What's Kim doing? Oh, my mic isn't working. Okay.
Oh, okay,
Well, Branch Homestead is the site, but
okay,
yep, we have fiber sheds there.
exciting,
We have local yarn.
exciting.
And of course, Kathy and I are there with kits and wool gauze and all kinds of special fun things.
Color
And
wheels.
there's artists who have beautiful dye ink paintings and illustrations.
Nice.
So lots of cyanotypes and scarves. There's a seaweed dyer who'll be there, makes these beautiful silk
Oh my
seaweed
goodness.
scarves. Yeah. So everybody's very different from the other. There's only about 10 people. But it'll be great. And the farm's gonna be, it always has the most delicious food. So it'll be nice. And Diane will be watching to see if any chickens are laying eggs, of course. Just one.
That'll be great.
Yep.
That'll be great.
All right.
All right, Amy, my dear, I'm gonna run away.
Yep, I'm gonna take off with you.
Kathy, have a
Martha, we
safe
was-
travel.
Thank you. You too, Betsy, when we see you in a few weeks.
I know, it's pretty
It's
exciting.
exciting.
Do
That's
I get
very
to see
exciting.
Betsy? Is Betsy doing the
Yes,
mud dye?
ma'am. She's
I'm
coming
doing-
in mineral mud.
I'm coming to
Betsy, I get to
Seattle.
meet you for the first time, but on the West Coast, even though we both live in New England.
Oh, you're gonna be there. Oh, great.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and I get to see my sister too, which is an added bonus.
Oh,
that's good.
sure. That's lovely.
Marie's gonna be there, but I don't think I'm gonna see you, Marie.
Yeah, you will. Just briefly. We'll like zip by the class before we head to
Oh
Portland.
my God. Marie, Akko and
see
I
you.
are sharing a place together.
Oh
No,
my God, I
Amy.
made it work.
What's that?
Wait, wait.
Marie,
Do
go.
this news.
Oh, nice t-shirt, Marie.
Thank you.
That's your Die Hard
Yeah.
t-shirt?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yes!
Oh my God. Yes.
God. This setup
So
on my phone
good.
is terrible.
Yes, that looks so good. Die Hard t-shirt.
Thank you.
You have to post that and tag us.
Oh, I will.
Yeah. Oh, yours is way better than mine. Now I'm gonna get like Die Hard t-shirt envy from people who did it better. But you can always add to it, right?
Mhm.
I could. Well, thanks for
Indefinitely.
wearing
Keep
the
going.
die. Yeah. Marie, do you hate me because I have you spotlighted right now?
Am I spotlighted? I'm on my phone,
Yeah.
so I have no idea
Here,
what
I'll
you
take
can
it
see.
off.
I haven't
I'll take
heard
it off.
anything from Rachel. I don't suspect she's not coming today.
All right, well,
Okay, ladies.
I'm
I'm gonna
Kathy,
thank
I'll
you.
hang out because now I see Laura.
Okay, so-
too. Okay,
All
I'll
right,
hang
so I'm
out.
just let me make you host one
We're
moment.
recording still. Great.
Oh, let me stop the
Perfect.
recording. Stop the